How many people were caught in like mid-word when the breakout room closed? Yeah, that always happens. I always feel bad closing the rooms. It feels like such a, I don't know what, but um all right. So I don't really need like a full report from everybody, but did it seem to go pretty well? Are there any questions that came up that maybe I can help to answer right now before things go even any further, or had some had some meaningful discussions in your groups or with yourself? I had a meaningful discussion with my ukulele, so that's but all right. So, yeah, again, at the very least, now at least you've had a chance to chat with the other people in your group. Hopefully, set up some ways for you to communicate. I absolutely encourage you to use whatever tools you have available to you. I know a lot of groups in the past have used some version of a Google Doc that they can all share with each other so that you can be contributing things to something like that. So if your group wants to set up something like that, by all means, feel free. Those work really well. Um, you know, chat rooms or Zoom calls or something like that. Also, just whatever your group feels like it needs in terms of communication and however you want to do that. I'll certainly be setting aside time during many of the class weeks for groups to have moments to converse with each other. Um, but don't feel like you have to limit it to just during class time. It's whenever your group feels the need. Um, and hopefully now you've got a couple of basic ideas about some projects to do. So those will continue to develop. All right. So as I promised, unless there's anything else anyone needs me to go over, let me just start to wrap up the evening here by talking about the work for the next couple of weeks. Um, these instructional game projects, this is obviously going to be the main focus over the coming week. And it's basically that the charge is just to continue the work that you started tonight. So if you didn't quite get a topic narrowed down, that should be the first sort of goal, is to kind of narrow it down to a particular subject or topic area. Once you get to that point, then you can start thinking about, start looking at that first part of the instructional design page. And that was those initial 4 questions at the top in the analysis section, which was, what's the problem you're trying to solve? And games aren't always about new instruction. Games are a lot of times used to reinforce existing instruction. So that could be part of the problem that you're looking to solve is simply a matter of reinforcing existing learning, or it could be attempting to teach something completely new through the game. So you got the problem you're going to be looking at, sort of the subject area, the audience that you're hoping to reach with this, and maybe kind of going off of what we were just talking about before we split up. Um, I love making projects as practical as possible. So if within your group you have a very specific like classroom of students that you want to kind of imagine as your target for this project, by all means you can do that. But also with games, it allows us to also be a little bit more generalized. So if you come up with something that's really good and works really well, there's no reason that games like this can't be shared across classrooms. So you could also decide in your group to sort of just more generally target and say, we want to target a 3rd grade math class, or we want to target a middle school social studies class, and kind of be more general with the audience that way. So it's kind of up to what you want to do in your group, but with these projects, it can be slightly more generalized. It doesn't have to have have a specific group of students in mind. It could be just more a type of student in mind. Um, So that should be, in terms of these game projects, that should be the main focus over the next, say, 2 weeks, is to narrow down and finalize your topic, get that recorded in the wiki, and then start working on that first section of the analysis part of the instructional design. Um, oh, and sorry, the last thing I didn't mention there, in that the most important one, the goals. So set the instructional goals. I like using the SMART goal framework. You can certainly use that or use another one, but you want to very specifically be able to identify, and that's part of what helps make a game instructional, is that it has instructional goals. It's trying to achieve very specific instructional things. So that should be part of the discussion as well. So by 2 weeks from now, when we meet together again as a group, hopefully your group is at that point where you've got a handle on the topic and you've got an idea now about what the goal of the game is going to be and who the game is for. Beyond that, I didn't want to add too much to that over the course of the next week, because I really want that to be the main focus. But I do want to keep us growing our understanding of educational gaming. So the forum this week is not actually a true forum activity. It's actually a glossary activity. And a glossary activity in Moodle is just one where you, the students, can create entries about subjects, and you just give the entry a title, and then you can put whatever you want in the body of it. So what we're going to do this time is, I want us as a class to start developing kind of a shared resource for information or research or articles about educational gaming or instructional gaming. Certainly over the last 10, 15 years, that's a topic that has taken off like crazy. So there's a lot of materials out there that addresses this topic. I'm not going to say all of it is high quality, but there's a lot out there. So the goal with this forum activity will be just to give you an opportunity to do a little searching out there, maybe find an article or find a research paper or a chapter from a book or a website even, just that addresses the topic of instructional gaming. Make sure it's something that's public access, especially when you get into the world of research. Of course, a lot of research is hidden behind various paywalls and so on. But so try to focus on things where anybody could click on it and see the resource. Um, and what you'll do when you find a resource is just go into that glossary activity. I can actually show it right here. Go into that glossary activity and just create an entry for it. You can see I put a full one in here right now already, and another one that I got the link in there. I need to go back and put in a little overview for it, which is why it says text here. That's a reminder to me. But when we're done, every entry that you make will now be in this alphabetical list of entries, and that'll just give us a shared resource where you can go through them, and if you see a topic or an article that looks interesting, you should be able to click on it and just kind of have that as a resource. So for your entry, give the entry the title of whatever the article or research or chapter or web page is. Give a link to the article. And if you're unfamiliar in Moodle, I'll show this really quick here. I'll go in and edit this one that's incomplete. When you're putting your entry in, if you want to create a link, I would say just copy and paste the link text as text, then highlight it, and then you click on this icon here that's the two linked chain links. And when you do that, you'll have a place, and then just paste the same text right in there. I like to click this box that says open in new window, because that just means when somebody clicks on it, it leaves them in the glossary, but opens up the thing in a new page, so they don't have to navigate back to the glossary. But that's up to you. I just like to do that. So then once you do that, it'll turn that text into a hyperlink. Then you'll put in just a quick overview. You don't have to discuss the whole article or your views on it, but kind of like an abstract, so that somebody could look at the quick description and decide if it's an article they might want to look at. So just really quick 1 paragraph summary of what's in the article, and then just label it with your name. The one thing that the glossary doesn't do in Moodle is tell me who posted each posting. So that'll just help me keep track of who's posted what. And also, if somebody wants to follow up with you about something you posted, they know who to get in touch with. So you just put that information in, hit save, and then it will add it to the overall glossary. And then that will just grow as a resource that we can all take a look at. So, like I said, it can be good resources. It can be resources you don't necessarily agree with, whatever you find out there. Do at least 1 entry. If you're somebody who really gets into this stuff and you find more things and you want to throw them in there as well, feel free to do more than one. But I figure if everybody gets at least 1 entry in there, then that gives us, 12.5 resources that we could go to and check out if we wanted to find out more about the topic of instructional gaming. So that's sort of the other activity, the other side activity for this week. And honestly, it says for next week, but we kind of have 2 weeks till we get back to gaming. So feel free to use both weeks if you want. There is an article, and I linked it at the top of that glossary activity. It is one that's behind a paywall, but for some reason I had access to it, so I grabbed it. So just something to look at. It's kind of an overview from a couple years ago of kind of what research is looking into these days when it comes to instructional gaming. So it's kind of a nice introduction to what's going on in that world right now. So that's really it. The only other thing is just to kind of make sure you're caught up on previous work. Like I said, it looks like most of you have the Scratch mini project already submitted. So if you haven't yet, just finish that up over the next week, get that submitted. And then there was that discussion forum from last week as well, that if you haven't finished your contributions to that, you can do that. Next week, fully asynchronous, no WebEx. I'll get the materials posted by Wednesday at the latest, but more likely Monday or Tuesday. And the topic there will be continuing on with the work in Scratch. There will be another mini project that comes out of that will be very similar to the one you just did, but obviously now with additional programming tools at your fingers. And that's kind of it. So we've got our groups. We've got hopefully an initial idea of topics. Continue that work through the next couple of weeks. And I will see everybody in 2 weeks, not next week. And we will go on from there. All right. Any last thoughts or comments or questions for the good of the order before we bid adieu? Sorry, I never took French, so I probably butchered that pronunciation. I got that pronunciation actually from watching Sound of Music and singing Doe a Deer. So anyways, all right, well, if there's nothing, have a great evening, enjoy the week, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Good night.
Thank you.